Principal. This is the sum of money lent or borrowed or invested initially. The principal is denoted by the letter P. So the principal is the original money we put in the bank. So either original money or an initial amount you put in the bank with the expectation that you are leaving it in the bank. Maybe after 1 year, then you come and take it. After 1 year, when you go to the bank to take your money, you will not take just your money, but it is your money plus some amount of money added to it, because the bank may use it to do one or two things, and then they will say that, okay, the profit we get, we share it, we give you this percentage also, right? So the amount of money you are putting in the bank initially, or the amount of money you are borrowing to someone, is what we call the principal, right? We will later on go through, okay, when you borrow this amount of money to someone and then the person is come to pay back, the amount they add to it, then that one too has its name as what? The interest they are adding to it. All right, so you have to understand that in any question or in any instance where you hear of an initial amount invested, or somebody borrowed an amount of money to someone, or somebody deposited some amount of money, that amount deposited or that amount borrowed to another person, is what we call the principal. Interest. This is the extra money paid for taking the money as a loan. This is often expressed as a percentage. So the interest is the amount of money you are adding to what you went to take from the bank, right? That is in a case where you went to borrow any money. The interest is the amount of money you are adding to it. That is, if I went to take 1,000 Ghana cedis and they said that, oh, I want to bring my 1,000 Ghana cedis, I have to add maybe 50 Ghana cedis to it, right? The interest is the 50 Ghana cedis I'm adding to it. So it means that I'm going to give the person 1,050 cedis, right? The 50 cedis I'm adding to the 1,000 is the interest, right? And then in the case where you went to also deposit some money, after you have deposited the money in a bank or you have invested some money, the amount that will be added to the amount you invested is the interest. Rate. Rate is the rate of interest at which the principal amount is given to someone for a certain time. The rate of interest can be 5%, 10%, or 13%. The rate of interest is denoted by the letter cap R, or capital R, or small r. So the rate, as we know, is the percentage of the interest that is being placed on the principal. For instance, you went to borrow the money. They said they are giving you a rate of, let's say, 5%, right? That 5% in monetary value becomes the interest, right? So the rate is the rate of the interest on the principal, right? So we calculate the rate on the principal, that will give us the interest that you are paying on that principal. If I go and borrow money, the rate is the percentage I'm going to pay of the money I'm borrowing, right? So when I calculate that rate, that will give me the interest I'm going to pay, right? If I invest some money, the rate is the amount they will be adding to the money I have invested, right? And that is going to give me the interest that I am going to earn on the money I've invested. Time. Time is the duration for which the principal amount is given to someone. Time is denoted by the letter T. That is capital T or small t. Simple interest is a type of interest that is calculated only on the principal amount of a loan or deposit, without taking into account any interest that has accumulated previously. It is called simple because the interest is applied only to the original amount borrowed or deposited, and it doesn't compound over time. So it is a simple interest because, let's say, if I invest this amount of money for 1 year, they calculate the interest on only this amount of money, and then they give me my interest on it, right? Next year, the same thing is done for that year, right? But there is a point where we are going to get to where we learn something we call compound interest, right? Then you understand why we are calling this one simple interest, right? So this one is simple because it is calculated only on the principal you have invested. So we say the simple interest formula is calculated as SI. When you see SI means the simple interest. So simple interest should be equal to the principal, which is the P, times the rate, which is the R, times T, which is the time, all over 100, right? And sometimes you can also calculate it as, you can see the formula as P times R times T, like where you see P is the principal, R is the rate of interest in percentage per annum, and T is the number of years, right? The rate of interest in percentage is given as R over 100, right? Because every percentage is over 100. So sometimes the question can come in a way that we will be asked to find principal. We will be given interest, rate, and time. Or sometimes we will be asked to find rates. Sometimes we'll be asked to find time, right? In this case, we can write these formulas as, when we go through the change of subject, we can say that P, which is the principal, is going to be 100 times the simple interest all over the rate times the time, right? If you want to find the rate also, rate becomes 100 times the simple interest all over the principal times the time. Or if you want to also find the time, then the time is going to be 100 times the simple interest all over principal times the rate. All right. So it's going to also get to a time where we're going to find the amount or the total amount. We say the amount is the principal plus the simple interest, right? Why are we saying amount? Because sometimes when you invest and you get an interest, the interest will not be kept there. The interest will be added to the amount you invested. So when the interest is added to amount you invested, you get the total amount. So the total amount, sometimes you see it as A, right? So we can say A is equal to the principal plus the simple interest. Then you get the total amount. So these are the cases where you're going to get formulas as A being equal to P plus SI, or P plus the interest, right? And then you also can have A being equal to P plus PTR. The PTR we are saying there is the formula for the simple interest, which is principal times time times rate, right? So A plus the principal times time times rate. Then when you factorize P out, you are going to get a formula also like A being equal to P out 1 plus TR, right? You're going to go through all of these things on the board. We are solving the first example, and the question: Jane invests 25,000 Ghana cedis in a building society account. At the end of the year, her account is credited with 2% interest. How much interest had her 25% Ghana cedis earned in the year? How much interest had her 25,000 earned her in a year? Okay, so this is a typical example of a simple interest question. And so you have to deduce some of the terms in the question. What are the terms in the question that should lead you to simple interest? The question says that amount invested an amount. So you must know that there was a principal that was invested, right? So now you have taken a principal. So we know that there is a principal, right? Which is P, right? And we will know that amount to be 25,000, right? And then the question continues to say that at the end of the year, right, her account is credited with a 2%. It means that after 1 year, or per annum, right? After 1 year, so the time we are dealing with is 1 year. And after that 1 year, how much interest was given to her? That is the 2%. And that is where the rate comes in, right? So we know principal to be 25, which is the amount invested. We know the rates to be 2%. And then we also know our time, which is T. Rate is R, time is T, and then the time is 1 year. Let me put a year beside it. So it is these values that we are going to use to put in our simple interest formula. And so we are going to have simple interest, which is simple interest, as we stated earlier, to be equal to, which is SI. When you see me write SI, it means simple interest. So simple interest is equal to the P times the R, which is the rate, times the T, all over 100. Right, that's the simple interest formula. And so this is what we are going to do. We are just going to substitute the values into it, and we get, someone will ask, where did we get this 100? The 100 is coming from the rate. So I'll take my time and go through that 100 very well. And so sometimes you see this formula written as P times R times T. It's the same thing because the rate has 100 on it. For instance, when you say 2%, 2% is the same as 2 over 100, right? So that is how come we are getting that over 100 over here, right? So you have to just take note. Sometimes from books we write it in this way. Sometimes it is written in this way. It's the same thing. You must know that that 100 inside is coming from the percentage, right? And then this thing, when you want to write them in decimals, you know what to do. The point you have to move 2 times, round 2. So it's going to 0.02, right? So this 2% is the same as 2 over 100 and the same as 0.02. Any of these values can be used to solve, right? And so let us solve our simple interest. We said SI should be equal to the principal, which is 25,000, times the rate, which is 2%, put 2 there, and then times the time, which is 1 year, all over 100. Right? So we multiply this once, and then we get an answer. So our SI should give us this times this, 25,000 times 2 times 1 is going to give us 50,000, right? 50,000 all over 100. So it gives us now 50,000 over 100, right? So this cancels this 0 cancels this, and it's left with what? 500, 500. Therefore, SI is the same as Ghana cedis 500. That's pesos. 00 pesos. So this is how we solve our interest. The question is asking us that how much interest did she earn in a year? So the interest she earned in a year would be 500 Ghana cedis. Interesting. Adepa invested 280 Ghana cedis in a venture that pays R% interest. After the first year, she received 5 cedis 60 pesos interest. What is the value of R, the rate of interest? And so this question also, as we can see the terms in a question, we can see that it is talking about simple interest, right? In the first place, we have Adepa invested, right? Which means that she deposited some money, right? And we said that would be called the principal, right? Amount deposited, amount borrowed, or whatever. So if Adepa invested that money, that is the principal, right? The first year she received an interest of, so it means that this time round the interest has been given to us. And what is the interest given to us? That is 5 cedis 60 pesos. So in this question, she has been given the simple interest that, let's say the principal, which is 280, and then the rate is R%, time is 1 year. And then the question also says that the simple interest, which is SI, should be equal to what? 5 cedis 60 pesos. right? So in this case, we have been given the simple interest, we have been given the amount invested, which is the principal. We have also been given the time it was that was used to calculate the simple interest, right? We can substitute these values into the simple interest formula and work it. So there are several ways of going this. It's that we use change of subjects to, like we stated earlier, when it comes to the formulas of principal, rate, time, all those things. We can use those ones to solve, as well as substituting the value. So we're going to go through all this approach. Now, we want to use the substitution approach to just put the values inside, and then we make out the subjects, get the values straightforward, right? So whatever you see from here, we are just going to put them back into the formula, right? So there's the interest gain after 1 year. That's the simple interest, right? So that one is 5 cedis 60 pesos. So instead of writing SI, it becomes 5 cedis 60 pesos. Should be equal to P is the principal, which is the amount invested. Now it's what? 280 cedis times the rate. So the rate we don't know, that is R, and then how many years? 1 year. All over 100 as we have here. So these are the things we are having in this question. And so in trying to solve this, we can easily say that we can cross multiply, or we multiply the top here. So I can do it this way. 5.60 being equal to this times this give us 280R over 100, right? So this is how we have it. And then we know that when you have things like this, we can either use LCM to work our way out, or we can use cross multiplication also. So this one we can cross multiply. This multiplies this, this multiplies this, right? So 1 multiplies 280R will give us 280R, being equal to this multiplies this will give us 560, right? 100 multiplies 5.60 will give us 560. Then we divide both sides by what? 280 to make out the subjects. So 280. This cancels this. And then our R is going to be 560 divided by 280, which will be 2. Therefore, our rate, which is R, is equal to 2%. Right? So in this case, we got a rate of 2%. Okay, so let's see the other approach to solving this one also, and see if we can get the same answer. So let's say that we want to make out the subject as stated earlier with the formulas I gave you. Now we are saying that you're having SI to be equal to P times R times T over 100. We are finding the rate, right? So we can make rate the subject. So we multiply. So this will multiply this one. So over this. So 100 multiply SI. So we are going to have 100 multiply the simple interest. So it becomes 100 SI, right? Then this one multiplies this. We are going to have P times R times T, right? So this is how it's going to be. So from here, if we want P to stand alone, because they are multiplying, we divide by P times T, so that the P can stand alone, the R can stand alone, right? Here to divide by the same thing, P times T. This cancels this, this cancels this. You see that the R is standing alone, right? So our R is going to be 100 SI all over P times T. Now that we know that the rate should be 100 times the simple interest all over principal times time, we have this in the question. So we are going to have R being equal to 100 times SI. SI is what? 5.6 all over principal is 280 times time being 1 year. So this is going to give us 100 times 5.6. That will give us 560 over 280 times 1, 280. And that is our R we are finding. And therefore our R is the same as 2. And so the rate, which is our R, is the same as 2%. So any of this approach, you can consider and I use it to solve. All right. A student plans to save money for their college education. They have a target to earn 1,500 Ghana cedis in interest over 4 years. The bank offers a simple interest rate of 5% per year. How much money should the student invest as the principal to reach their target? Right? So it means that in this case, we are having the interest, right? This time around, I'm writing the interest as I. I'll explain why I'm writing it that way. So the interest is I over here, and that is the amount of money the students are expecting, right? Which is 1,500. The principal, we don't know the amount of money they're going to put in the bank to be able to accrue this 1,500. Then the rate the bank gives for every year is 5%. The time the bank will give them to save that money is 4 years. They have to save that principal for 4 years before they can get 1,500 as interest, right? So this is what the question is given to us. We can use the simple interest formula. So this time around, we are saying that the I, which is the interest, should be equal to the principal times rate times time all over 100, right? And so we can put all these values inside like we did before and still get our answer. So now let's try it. So now we are talking about an interest of about 1,500 being equal to the principal, which we don't know, times the rate, which is 4, times the number of years. Rate is 5, sorry. So times the rate, which is 5, times the number of years, which is the time, to be 4, all over 100. So we do the same thing we are doing for the previous one. We multiply, we can cross multiply over here. Right, go. So this will multiply this will multiply this, right? Sorry, 100 multiplies 1,500. We are going to have 150000, which will give us 150,000, being equal to this multiplying all of this. We are going to have this multiplying this 5 times 4, which will give us 20p. The 20p times this one is the same as 20p, right? So from here, you divide through by 20, divide here by 20. 20 cancels, and then 20 will go into 150. So it means that our principal is going to be 7,500, right? Yes, so the principal is going to be 7,000 Ghana cedis, 7,500, right? So, all right, so we are saying that we can use the other approach also when we have the principal formula. So it all depends on you. We are having interest being equal to P times R times T over 100. So we can make P the subject over here. So this multiplies this. We have 100I equals P times R times T. Sometimes it can be written as PRT, the same as P times R times T. And so in this case, we are looking for P, so we divide through by R times T. R times T. This cancels off. And then you'll be having our P to be equal to 100 times I, which is all 100I all over R times T. Right? So from here, you put the values inside like we did before. So it is going to be 100 times interest, which is 1,500, all over the rate, which is 5, times 4, which is the time, right? So you understand that we'll be having 150000 all over 20, and then our principal will be what? 7,500 Ghana cedis. All right. So any approach you use, we should get the same answer. A farmer borrows 8,000 Ghana cedis from the bank to buy farming equipment. The bank charges a simple interest rate of 6% per year. The farmer pays 2,400 Ghana cedis as interest, how long in years will it take the farmer to repay the loan with this amount of interest? The next question is talking about the farmer borrowing an amount of money from the bank, right? And the bank is charging that farmer an interest rate of 6%, and the farmer, after that has been charged, the farmer paid an interest of 2,400 cedis, right? So they want to find out how many number of years is the farmer going to use to pay that amount of money, right? So in this case, this is also like a simple interest or an interest question. And so we are saying that the interest the farmer paid is 2,400. The amount of money the farmer collected was the amount of money the farmer collected is 8,000. Then the rate is 6%. The time the farmer used to pay the money, we don't know. We have to calculate for that time, right? So it's still the same thing. So that's a simple interest formula. So the rate over here is 2,400 being equal to the principal, which is 8,000, times the rate, which is 6, times the time, which is t. Let's say time is t, we don't know, so we put t over there, all over 100. We multiply this by this, and then, okay, let me do the multiplication at the top first. So we have 2,400, then 8,000 times 6 will give us 4,800, right? Okay, so it's going to be 4,800t all over 100. So this time around we cross multiply. This multiply this, the 2,400. 100 multiply this one. So you are going to have 2,400, right? Being equal to 48,000. So we divide through by 48,000. 48,000 cancels off, and then 240,000 divided by 48,000. When we divide 240,000 by 48,000, the t will give us 5, right? So it means that the number of years the farmer is going to use to pay off that 8,000 is 5 years, right? So the time taken is 5 years. So that's how we solve this question. I hope you can use the other approach to solve the same question, right? So I'll be expecting you to solve it with the other approach also, so that you see which one you're okay with. All right, so please let's all try our hands on this very question. I'll be expecting your answers submitted as assignment on the Google Classroom. Thank you.